Welcome to all of you. As is our usual, we'll begin on time, we'll end on time. My name is Kathy Heavers, for those of you who aren't forum regulars. I'm one of the facilitators, one of the 4 facilitators for forum. We want to welcome all the candidates. Thank you for being here. And we also want to welcome all of you attendees who, in spite of the coronavirus scare, showed up in a group gathering. We appreciate that. We want to thank a couple of other people. Will Woody at the back of the room shows up faithfully every week and films the forum presentations, edits them, and then puts them online. And so if you talk to people who are not able to come, but they would like to see the presentation, tell them that it is available online. Go to YouTube, right? And they'll be able to view it, or the city's channel. And also thank you to Tressa for the green ballots, the sample ballots. We appreciate having those. Take notes, mark your people as you listen so you can remember if that's necessary. We really appreciate Tressa having those. The format today will be that each candidate has 3 to 5 minutes. Lori Wenzel, who is a forum facilitator, will be timing. Lori's sitting up front. And we will be rude if you go over. So we'll just interrupt you and we'll move on. In terms of being rude, we also want to address audience behavior. If any of you went Thursday night to Turn of the Century, it was not good. There were audience members who would shout out responses. There were audience members who would indicate that the speakers were not on the right track. So we want to stress to everyone, this is a respectful environment, and we expect people to be respectful to the speakers. They only have 3 to 5 minutes. We won't have Q&A. It will be Q&A time as soon as the presentation is over. There'll be plenty of time to address your comments or questions to the speakers then. So, with that said, we are about ready to begin. Each speaker is to address any or all of the following: an intro of themselves, why they're running, what they believe to be the strengths of the city, what they perceive to be areas of improvement, and final comments. Tressa, did you have anything you needed to clear up with voters?
I don't know that anybody's going to talk about this. People may talk about this already, but I want to make it clear, and that was why I was wanting to hand out sample ballots also, is this is not all of these candidates against each other. There's different districts involved, and that's what will help with this, is, I think it just turned on, is you can see who is against each other. So it's not vote for one of any of these, it's vote for one within the district. And also another confusion I want to clear up is the candidates, where the district comes in is the candidate just simply has to live in the district. As far as who votes for them, anyone within the city limits. Anyone within the city limits is eligible to vote for every district. And that's what you'll see on the sample ballot. Everyone who lives within the city will receive this ballot. You'll have the opportunity to vote for all 3 districts that are up.
Thank you. All right, we are ready to begin. The way we'll run this is our first speaker will be Roy Anderson. When he's finished, he'll hand the mic off to David White. We will not interrupt them. We'll run down the entire row at 5 minutes each. That takes 55 minutes. So we're ready to roll. It's yours, Roy.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? All right, super. Welcome, and I'm getting into this elbow bump. I think that's important to know. So thank you all for coming. A quick bio. So I grew up in Montana, so I understand rural communities, and I also know about dying communities, but we're not one of those. I served as an officer in the Air Force. I have a master's degree in computer science, and my lovely wife and I raised 4 children in Fort Collins while I worked for Hewlett-Packard. And then I ran my own high-tech consulting firm for 6 years and finally moved to Montrose to retire. I have volunteered at the Visitor Center, was on the Planning Commission, was elected City Council in 2016, and served as your mayor in 2018. I'm running so that I can continue to serve the community, and because I believe in the future of Montrose and the opportunities that we have to continue moving forward for an even brighter future for all of our citizens. I believe that the strengths lie in our citizens who are caring and giving people, who volunteer for more than 200 charitable organizations in Montrose, and who just want to build a better life for their children. We've been blessed with a beautiful outdoor environment that's the envy of everyone in our nation, but it's really the people who make this a wonderful place to live and work. So some of the candidates have been asking, where have your tax dollars gone? So let's think about that. First, we've repaired over 30 lane miles of streets in our town that were neglected for many years and fixed 50 miles of crack sealing situations. And then we've built some new streets and added features for traffic flow. An example is the Hillcrest extension, the Oak Grove reconstruction, 2 roundabouts, the Grand Avenue extension, and so on. We have an amazing Connect Trail that eliminates your need to go across busy streets. And we have public access to the entire length of the river from the south end of the city to the north end. And not every city can say that because of private property laws in our state. We have new and improved bathrooms in our parks, which I think is kind of important. We have fiber to every business and soon to every residence in the city, thanks to a wonderful private-public partnership. We have new businesses downtown and across the whole city. You might think of Freddy's, Harbor Freight, new Maverick that's under construction. So these are great things for our community. And we are rebuilding Cerro Summit Reservoir. So if you don't go up there fishing, you don't know that that's over 100 years old and the dam is really important. So we're repairing that. And the list just goes on. And most all of these things are things that citizens have told us is important to them and they want to see us working on, both in public sessions for the comprehensive plan and in our survey that was done by a professional company in 2016. So I don't like taxes any more than you do, but the cost of government services continue to rise just like everything else in our economy. I see our city government as a very efficient one. We have less employees now than we had in 2008, and we provide more services than we did then. We stretch your tax dollar with over $1 million in grants every year, and for every dollar you pay in taxes, we get 2 more from tourists and nearby neighboring communities. So while we've accomplished a lot, I still think there's a lot to do. We need to strengthen our police department, repair more streets and sidewalks, have more good-paying jobs, and enhance our downtown so that young and old alike find it a vibrant place to be. And finally, we need to attract more visitors to enjoy our resources and grow our economy. Areas of improvement, I think our city codes could be modified so that we don't get another tank farm without planning ahead. Transparency, we need to improve the access to all the information that's on our website so that it's easy to find what you're curious about. And finally, I think citizen input is important, and we need to have town meetings, in my opinion, where there isn't an agenda and everybody can just talk to city staff and city councilors about what's on their mind. So if you want to see Montrose continue moving forward, I would ask you to vote for me. Just think of the very top name on the ballot. Okay, so let me introduce David White, my opponent and my neighbor.
Thank you, Roy. Give me 1 second. I was told to disinfect the mic, so. All right, Roy, I don't know if you have the coronavirus, but just not taking any chances. My name is David White. I am a longtime resident of Montrose. My wife and I moved here, raised 5 of our 6 kids. Most of them graduated from Montrose High School, and we currently have 10 grandchildren. Who knows, there could be another one coming. But anyway, I'm a graduate of Auburn University. I have a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration with a major in Physical Transportation and Distribution. I have, over the years, been an entrepreneur and business person, but I also have given back to my community. I have served on the Montrose City Council and as a Montrose County Commissioner. I'm running for office this time for a variety of reasons. Roy was going to be unopposed, and geez, like he said, he's my neighbor. I don't hold any ill will toward Roy, but people need a choice. But I do have some issues that I have been concerned about. The direction of the city, while it has been overall a good one, we live in a place where people expect certain things from government, and sometimes government expects certain things from their citizens, and in order to do that, things can get beyond what I believe the scope of government is, which is first and foremost public health, safety, and welfare. If we go beyond that, that's fine as long as you're able to fund it. So raising taxes and fees isn't necessarily working for all of the working class people. I employ 12 people, and I can tell you that many of them are struggling. This recent sales tax increase has had an effect. We have got to be aware of how we communicate to people. Large retired population, if you have a good pension, that's, you're fixed. But if you're on fixed income, it is difficult. If you're a young family, it is difficult. But regardless, Roy brought the question up. I have been asking, where has all the money gone? And the money has gone, answering the question relative to the strengths of the city, it has gone to enhance our city, certainly. We have natural beauty. People move here not necessarily for the amenities, but they move here for the quality of life. We have many choices in shopping. We have the pavilion, we have the event center, we have an airport that can take you around the world. We have educational choices from private and public schools to higher ed. This is a great place to live. We have a huge volunteer community, and many of you volunteer in your churches, in your schools. Just being here, Kathy and Tim and everybody that puts this forum on, this is a volunteer effort. I see areas of improvement, though, that we need is the tax burden on the citizens. We've reached a tipping point where speculative investments, private businesses receiving taxpayer dollars, city council, as Roy said, hasn't done the best of jobs in listening to the citizens. Yes, a town hall forum is one way to do that. Expecting the community to understand that they can go to a website and get information. Yes, there's a civic responsibility, but at the same time, people are working 2-3 jobs trying to survive, and this doesn't come to the top of their list. We've become dependent on tourism in large part. Diversifying our economy is all well and good, but we all know that we are geographically restricted from transportation, as well as the quality of the workforce. We're working on those things, but we need to work harder. In closing, I want to tell you that I offer a perspective that other candidates in the current city council perhaps don't have with my business background, understanding of issues, the institutional knowledge that I bring to the city council, and I too served as mayor in 2007 and 8. I don't want to relive those days when the economy crashed. You know, we're seeing a lot of that talk today with the stock market down yet again. We just need to be very cautious. Again, I encourage you to vote, and I ask for your support. David White, District 3 City Council. Thank you. Next up is Bill Bennett, District 4.
I'm too ornery to die. I'm Bill Bennett. Thank you, David, for the introduction. And I'm Bill Bennett, and I'm running from District 4. I went to school for American government and accounting, and I did my graduate work in accounting and law. I've worked in 4 private businesses that I've owned. I haven't drawn a paycheck since 1986 from anybody but myself. Jen and I and one daughter live here. We lived in the county for 10 years, and then we moved to town. We've lived here for 11 years. We are now here forever because we love it, even the weather. You may remember that 7 years ago, we brought my cousin home from Vietnam to be buried here after being missing for 47 years. Hence, we're not going anywhere. I'm running for the city council from District 4, and I'm running for office because I know that our city can do better than it's doing. More responsibility, more efficiency, and more accountability. Montrose has some difficult times ahead, but for the most part, the city has far more than enough income to make it work for its citizens. We are losing business faster than we're finding new ones, and this is costing us a fortune. The object should be to keep the good ones, coddle them if necessary, and then to find the things that work and encourage relocation from other places. We should not have to buy new businesses. If there is business here to be done, it should be done because the businessman wants and can do it. As a director of the hospital, I noticed that a substantial number of doctors come here because of the incentives the hospital provides to pay their debts. A lot of them leave before the end of that contract, and they leave because there's just no society here for the wives. And that's not all of them, of course, that leave, but then they have to pay us back. And they do pay us back because we have a junkyard dog for a lawyer who makes sure they pay us back for the money that we've given them. We should be doing that with the industry that we have incentivized. Montrose has far too much debt for a city of its size. It's far too willing to take on more debt, and it can be debt-free within a few years if our civic leaders take the bull by the horns and work at it. Montrose has great outdoor opportunities for citizens and tourists. We have gorgeous scenery that can't be matched worldwide. You cannot spend your way out of debt. It doesn't work. Our city is out of reach of any industry that needs heavy inventory in and out. I had a business here doing my daughter's fulfillment for her brush business, and within 18 months of getting it out of here in someplace where freight transportation was a little more reasonable, she paid me everything she owed me for 5 years of work. The city, the county, the school system, TEI, rock drills, the airport, and the hospital are all industries that pay very well. The hospital has 750 employees with degrees in higher education. High wages. People that use these functions are for whom we should search. For instance, we should endeavor to attract retired families. I am retired and I take nothing out of Montrose, but I spend every penny I make here. Plus I bring Social Security and Medicare and TRICARE to the hospital, and that's all outside money, okay? Someday, I will use the corner. That'll be my first effort.
Make an appointment.
Thanks. The only thing that I will take out of this total of $2 million that I'll spend during my retirement is at corner service. Old folks are a clean industry, no crime, no kids for school, and they either buy or rent a home someone else built, and if they're really fussy, they build a new one. Employment, they don't take jobs here, they bring jobs here. Take a ride downtown and look at, around town rather, and look at where they live and how they live. Uh-oh.
Mr. Bennett.
I am done. I now introduce Dave Frank.
We are missing Merri Bennecke, and I'm not sure why. So we will move on with Dave.
She's got a job and she works.
Good morning. I'm Dave Frank. I'm running for the District 4 seat for City Council. Kind of a brief bio. I was born here in Montrose, raised here in Montrose, graduated from Montrose High School. My grandmother used to throw 100-pound bags of potatoes down in Olathe. My father was born in Olathe. And my son lives here, my grandchildren live here, my roots are deep. I have nowhere that I plan to go in my entire lifetime. I plan to also have an appointment with Doc, and hopefully not soon. I'm a military veteran. I taught electronics in the U.S. Air Force. There's a lot of Air Force veterans represented on our candidate panel. I've served locally on a number of different boards and a church. Currently I'm serving on the Montrose Community Foundation Board, and I've served on the Magic Circle Theater Board, the board of Dolphin House. I'm very active in giving in our community. We give to all of the local charities. We are well known in hospice, Hope West, Habitat for Humanity, all of the local charities. We are very, very active in those. And I would like to point out that Montrose is doing well. In the recent economic summit that they had, Dr. Nathan Perry pointed out that our unemployment is at a near historic low at 2.47%. Inflation is only at 2% in Montrose, and that Montrose is one of the only communities in Colorado, especially the Western Slope, that is fully recovered from the recession. Now that tells you a lot about the way that our current government is running, is that we are one of the only places in Colorado that is recovered. So we're doing good work and doing strong economic progress. Some of our strengths are that we have a great staff. The staff that Montrose City has right now are really hardworking, dedicated individuals. They are all very focused on doing their absolute best work for the absolute lowest price. And I think we need to continue that. Are there things that we can tighten up on our budgets? Of course there are. There are always things we can tighten up on budgets. Are there ways we can look at saving a little bit more money? Absolutely. There's always ways to save a little bit more money. The things we need to look at, the weaknesses that Montrose has right now, quite honestly, our biggest drawback right now is the housing market. There are no available houses. Ask any realtor. There are no available houses. There's no inventory. We can't bring in new workers if they have nowhere to live. Now, how is Montrose City going to deal with that? That's a complex discussion. One of the things that we are trying to do is incentivize new businesses to move here. One of the things that was pointed out is we do have beautiful scenery. You can't eat the scenery, right? Our family owns TEI Rock Drills, and thank you for the shout out. And one of the things that we found in our business is the quality of life is very important here. And one of the things that Montrose has is there are some things that are there not bringing back an economic return on investment, but they are bringing back a huge cultural return on investment. Some of the facilities we have, and we'll take the pavilion as a great example, it's never going to break even. It's never going to make money financially, but it's providing for the quality of life that is one of the things that bring people here. We need to incentivize new businesses, but we do need to be careful how we do that. We don't want to be seen around the entire country as the city that's the golden goose, that you can come here and get just these enormous handouts. So we need to be very careful and measured in how we do that. My goal, I will be really honest with you, I don't have an overarching agenda or goal that I want to encompass during my tenure. The one thing I would say is we fought very hard to make sure that our police were well funded. And we want to make sure that that money is well spent and very carefully spent. And we want to make sure that we have our law enforcement in Montrose well supported. I'm Dave Frank. I'm running for the District 4 seat, and I would look forward to your support. Thank you. The next person up is David Stockton.
While David is taking the podium, it was just pointed out to me that Merri Bennecke is a healthcare worker, and they had an emergency meeting this morning, probably to make plans for the virus. So, just a bit of explanation. Sorry.
Good morning. My name is Dave Stockton. I too am running for the District 4 vacancy. I diverge from my plan statement a little bit. I am a U.S. Air Force veteran, served during the Vietnam era. I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in management from the University of Phoenix. I have a master's degree in telecommunications from the University of Denver. I've got several decades of experience working for AT&T as a manager, and during my tenure at AT&T, I had an opportunity to supervise and manage diverse groups of folks, which gave me the experience to run a business, if you will. I have experience in budget management, logistics, things of that sort. I want to let you know, I ran for city council a couple years ago, and I lost. And to be honest, I lost to the better candidate, Barbara Bynum. She was the right choice for Montrose at that time. But that loss did not deter my desire to serve my community. Instead, it strengthened my resolve to do so. I've got a history of serving communities I live in small but beneficial ways. I've helped with Boys Club mentorship, Habitat for Humanity, church outreach programs, and just helping my neighbors with their chores. And as I mentioned, I ran a couple years ago and lost that, but I knew I wanted to serve on city council, so I knew I needed an education. And I got that education by attending all the city council meetings over the last 2 years. And it's more than just attending meetings. I actually participated in those meetings by challenging council on some of the things that face them. I challenged them on things that concern for me and what I thought would be a general concern for the community. I've also supported council in the efforts that they put forth on items that they were facing. I've attended at least half the work sessions, and Dave mentioned last night about reading the packets. Those packets are quite detailed, quite involved, and I was quite aware of everything that's going on by reading those packets. So I think I'm your best candidate for District 4 because of the time and effort I put in engaging with City Council over the last 2 years. So I want to make the following commitment to you, and it's always to be thoughtful on issues that come before Council. I want to weigh the pros and cons and make the best decisions possible based on the facts available. I will ensure your tax dollars are spent in a manner that meets the needs of Montrosians current and future. And I live by a set of principles that include integrity, honesty, and a sense of fairness for all. And that's a commitment I'm going to make to you. But on the tax issue that was brought up earlier by Mr. White, we had a public safety sales tax increase that was approved by all you voters. And that equated to 58 cents on a $100 purchase. You know, that 58 cents is a donut at Walmart, donuts, police. And I think it's a good investment. We need to continue doing the right things with those tax dollars. And I think that 58 cents is going to go a long way in ensuring the safety and intelligent-led policing going forward. But more importantly, Montrose government is not out to get every tax dollar they can. That tax increase was the first tax increase asked by the city in almost 35 years. 1986 was the last tax increase. So I'm going to run out of time here. Dave Stockton, District 4. I'll avail myself to any personal questions you might have of me later on. Thank you. Paul Arbogast, is that right? Did I get your name right? Close enough?
Hello and welcome, and thanks for coming, everybody. I am Paul Arbogast. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. After that, I came to Montrose, worked for Siemens Healthcare, up and down the Western Slope, working on X-ray equipment, pretty much any medical imaging. If you've been to the hospital here, you've probably been in machines I've been maintaining. I am not a politician. I have no aspirations to be a politician, so why am I running for Montrose City Council, you ask? I've lived in Montrose for 16 years. Since the day I came here, I've loved this town. Until a few years ago, I was focused on raising a family and providing for them. That was my sole and only most important job in the world. But over the past few years, now that they're grown, I've been watching our local government, and I'm concerned they're not really always working for the good of all people of Montrose. Sometimes, quite honestly, it seems like they aren't listening at all. As a co-owner of Intrinsic and having just opened my own photography studio, I'm invested in and believe in Montrose. I think the foundation of a good city is its people and local business. When both are taken care of, both prosper and make a solid foundation where everyone is better off. This also allows a natural growth as people see how great Montrose is, quality of life, the economy and all that. They'll naturally want to move here rather than needing to be enticed by big money giveaways. All the candidates have had many questions about housing, taxes, incentives, and various other things over these last few meetings we've had. But to be honest, almost none of these issues are quick and easy. I know this is not what some want to hear. I don't want to hear it. But we need to realize there are a lot of complexities in these issues, a lot of different opinions on these issues. There will have to be some give and take, but the most important thing is all these discussions need to involve the citizens of Montrose, be it more open forums or some other involvement. I want open discussions with the public to work to build a stronger and better Montrose, a Montrose where the citizens believe and trust in their local government to look out for all of their best interests. But if we don't take an honest look at all the issues, all the possible solutions, many have not been discussed that I've heard, and act 100% transparent to the citizens, we're never really going to get where we need to be in improving the city. I know we've heard some, and we'll hear more, talk about all the experience with civic duty and foundations in the government and all that. I can tell you, I don't have that. And like I said, I was focused on my family until the past couple of years. But I also don't think it's necessary. All the experience in the world doesn't do you any good if you're not listening to the people and doing what they want you to do. What is more important to me is a local government that listens and is responsive to the people. And that's what I want to be a part of, bringing to you. That's really all I have. Thank you. Next is Barbara Bynum.
Hi, thanks to Forum for having us here. Thanks to Kathy Hebers for putting in a lot of work to make this happen this morning. My name is Barbara Bynum, and I currently serve on the Montrose City Council. I'm asking for your vote in this upcoming election. My parents, who will celebrate 59 years of marriage this year, have been a big influence on me. My mother was the consummate volunteer, and I remember all the time she spent leading my Girl Scout troop when I was little. My father was a businessman who sat on a number of local boards and ultimately served as president of the town council. Their example for hard work, integrity, and community service continues to inspire what I do today. I've had the opportunity to serve our community on a number of nonprofit boards and in elected positions, and I have a solid track record of delivering results for our community. On the school board, where I served as vice president and made difficult decisions in regard to the budget to weather the economic downturn 10 years ago, or the Recreation District Board, where I collaborated with others to create value for our community. We spent years listening to people in order to put together a strong plan for the community. And at the end of 2016, when the rec center was about to open its doors and the project was on time and on budget and users had signed up en masse, we lowered the mill levy on all property taxpayers in the district because that was the right thing to do. Through these leadership roles, I've listened to people and I've worked with stakeholder groups because I believe that every voice in our community is important. On council, it's important to remember that we are not elected to carry out our own ideas, but rather to represent the views of the community. We do this through various efforts, including stakeholder committees, the comprehensive plan committees, and listening to the 2016 surveys. Because of these efforts, we know that most people want to see a community that is thriving economically, a safe community, a community with opportunities for young families and retirees. Additionally, people have asked the city to work on such issues as housing, new and improved roads, and expanding our trail system. All of this work is made possible by sales tax, as the city does not collect any property tax. In fact, we're one of only 10 cities in the state, and we're the largest city that doesn't collect any property taxes. This means we rely on sales tax, and we rely on visitors and tourists to pay that tax when they come and shop in our community. Some of the candidates here want to stop charging sales tax on things we sell in Montrose, and I caution you to think about the ramifications of that idea. It could mean a $4 million cut in services to our community. That is more than the entire Streets Department and Parks Department for our city. I'm proud of the things that the city has accomplished in the last 2 years that I've been on council. The relationships between the city and the county are at an all-time high. And as citizens, you benefit from these strong relationships. It saves you money, and it develops a higher level of service. The city is very transparent. You can call on the city at any time. You can speak to leadership. You can speak to city council. We're here to answer your questions, and has been repeated many times. While all of the information is available online, I do think it can be hard to access for everybody. One thing I'd like to see is more opportunities for citizen engagement, which is why I've proposed that before one city council meeting a month, we come early and have all of the city leadership and all of the city council members available to talk and interact with the public. Because although there's opportunity for public comment at our meetings, there's not an opportunity for that kind of quality interaction. So I'd like to see more of that. I'll use my last few seconds to tell you a little bit more about myself. My husband and I have been married almost 26 years. We chose Montrose as a place to raise our family. We were supposed to go to the hospital tonight. It got canceled, but we're supposed to go to the hospital tonight to celebrate his 15 years of service to our local community hospital. My daughter is a senior in college, and my son is a senior at Montrose High School, and we are so proud to call Montrose our home. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Next is Yvonne Meek.
This is the proper way to clean a microphone. No offense, Barbara. Okay, time is running.
ticking down. I'm Yvonne Meek. In 1990, I took a trip to Israel and I met my husband. The guy that I was going to marry, he wasn't my husband just then. In 1991, 1 year later, April 13th, we met on a Friday the 13th, we married a year later on Saturday the 13th. We really liked that number 13. In 96, we were, at the time we were both living in Southern California. My husband grew up in Crawford, in Mayer specifically, Montrose County on the other side of the canyon. We are Meek Ranch. Our family has owned that property at that point in time since the early 1900s. You can look us up in history. Both my father-in-law and his brother were very active in farming and ranching in this area in the early 1900s or later on in the 50s and all the way through. So we moved into Montrose in 1996. I am a city girl from Southern California. We moved to a ranch in the top of Black Mesa, or near the top of Black Mesa, and I had never experienced anything like that. So Southern California city girl went a little bit crazy. I said, I can't live here. I love it, it's beautiful, but I can't live here. I need community. We looked at several towns around the western slope and decided that Montrose would be the best fit for us to raise our 2 children at the time, eventually 3 children. My children have graduated from Montrose High School as well. We've been engaged in the community. I have, for sure. My husband is a builder, but he's more of a homebody. He does not really like to be out in public if it's not necessary. I am a former singer, songwriter, worship leader, very involved in church planting. That's what I came here for, really. And we have just stayed, I've stayed, involved in the community as much as possible. I was a participant as a musician on Main in Motion for several years, and then I didn't want to just be a musician in Main in Motion, so I decided that I would serve on the Main in Motion board as well. And I helped put vendors on the streets for that very first street closure, and so everyone would come to me very unhappy about where they may have been placed, and nobody was happy, but we did the best that we could, and we were actually really excited to be able to block the street off and make Main in Motion something a little bit more creative than it had been in the past. I'm running for City Council because I've been involved in building a venue on Main Street, right across the street from Intrinsic over there, and before there was an Intrinsic, my husband and I purchased the Masonic Temple building. We walked into a building that I fell in love with over 20 years ago, and were able to purchase it with the proceeds of our family ranch sale. And we put a lot of time and money into that property. We did it with our own money. We renovated, we restored a 100-year-old plus skylight that's absolutely beautiful, right there. You have never been in there since it's been renovated. You should come in, and that would explain why it was harder for me to keep it open. There were a lot of people that don't even know that it's there, even though I did all the advertising and spent quite a bit of money to get it into the community. My participation also extended to the DDA. I chose to serve on the DDA so that I could figure out what was going on in the downtown, so that I could be aware of what was going on in the downtown, and so that I could communicate with other business owners who weren't able to attend those meetings what was going on and what the future might hold for them. I discovered a lot of things that made me uncomfortable. When I'm watching other businesses move into the downtown and get incentives, $150,000, $240,000, there's probably things that I don't even know about that I'm sure have happened. I was concerned because I took my own money and put it into my building. I could have taken my money someplace else. I'd love to live by the beach again. I don't. I invested it in downtown Montrose because I believed in downtown Montrose. But what I saw in the DDA, not in the DDA, but in the city's management and control of the DDA and other organizations, disturbed me. And I'm like, I'm a taxpayer. I'm not wealthy. I want answers. I want to know why these things are happening. Why are these organizations suddenly disappearing? I want to get to those issues. There's a logo on our signage for Montrose that says look deeper. It was developed because we were looking deeper into the Black Canyon and making that an attraction for people to come here. I want you to look deeper into Montrose finances. Please vote for Yvonne Meek. And there's Charli Oswald.
you all for being here. I first discovered Montrose about 20 years ago when my sister was relocating to the Western Slope, and I instantly fell in love with it. How friendly the people were, and when I went to the local theater and saw that guy opening up the curtains and introducing the movie, I thought that was so cool, and I actually made it a goal to get here. Since being here, I have graduated from the Montrose Leadership Program. I've met and talked to a lot of community leaders, and I spent most of last year working with a partnership, attempting to build a venue that would bring more small business and foot traffic to the downtown area. But unfortunately, the challenges so far have been too great, and we've had to let that go for now. But since doing all of that, I've learned how unique Montrose is. How one of the biggest job creators is in the lower income service industries where the people can't find homes. And that we do need to attract investment, but the numbers don't compete in a good market, and in a good economy unless we do get creative. We also have a large opportunity zone area, which means that a significant amount of the population lives at or below the poverty level. And yet we market to almost 100,000 people as they cross through to go into neighboring communities and utilize our airport. I know in Montrose we have a lot of great talent, and I've seen a lot of great things come about, but I think it's time that we realize what we've achieved, enjoy it, and change our priorities, and at least until we can solve some of the problems that brought us here today. I've talked to a lot of people downtown, and many of them said that they do not feel represented or included. They've taken me out and shown me the bad sidewalks that you can't take strollers down. They've talked about the traffic and parking problems and the various hazardous crosswalks. I really think it was a mistake to disband the volunteer organizations that represented the business communities, because even with problems, it keeps them more involved and more fulfilled than through administrative. If elected, I will address the lack of housing. I will work with local builders, nonprofits, and try to utilize the federal tax advantages of the Opportunity Zone to build equity-based homes that create a more stable economy than rentals. I will work to bring in more schools in the trades and tech industry. Modular construction is very popular. Why don't we build a modular construction plant and promote jobs in cybersecurity? As a member, I will work to represent my constituents in a well-informed and independent manner. I feel blessed to have had a very diverse background. I'm a country girl, I've plowed fields, and I started my career in the legal industry where I worked as a court reporter and a legal secretary. I was hired in a startup business, and ultimately ended up managing over 50 employees in a very fast-paced environment. I eventually was able to become self-employed and worked in sales and marketing in residential and commercial real estate. I believe my experience gives me the perspective to relate to people and be a valued member of this community. I think our biggest incentive is our Western Slope way of life. Let's work together and thrive as we grow, and I would like your support. Thank you. And here is Mr. Ed Ulibarri.
First of all, I'd like to just give Miss Bennecke a little plug. I believe that she's a great lady, and I think that she would serve you well on the city council. She's a hard worker, and she's also a very compassionate person. And I believe that she would understand what's happening in Montrose and help the community. As for myself, I'm just a carpenter by trade. I've been in business for myself since 1969. The reason why I did that is because I got married. So for some of these people here, they're talking about their 30 years and 40 years. The wife and I are over 50 years. So I believe in Montrose because this is my home. I was born here. I've lived in Tortilla Flats. I've also lived on the East End on a farm. And on the farm you learn how to work. That's all I can tell you that I will do for you is I will work for you. That's my goal. I believe the benefits that we have for the community is our citizenry. You know, without you guys, this place would go on downhill. I believe that the taxes are kind of high, and the reason why I say that is because they are. We have, in just my estimate, and these are just numbers that I pulled out of the sky just by looking at the fact that we're over $40 million in deferred maintenance on their streets and utilities. We have a pavilion that doesn't pay for itself, which it never was intended to pay for itself. We have a golf course now that doesn't pay for itself. We have a new debt coming up, $16 million in a new police department and new police. We have a new event center. Now, the reason why I'm bringing some of this stuff up is as taxpayers, we pay county tax. We also pay city tax. And we pay our property tax. And all that stuff goes into these, this debt. Just to round it off, I rounded it off at about $110 million. If we have $110 million to pay off the debt, that would be wonderful. But we don't. So everything is either bonds or mortgages. Now, I don't know about you, but it took me a long time to pay off my $100,000 loan on my house. And the interest rate at the time was 5%. I don't know what bonds are paying now, 3%, 4%. How much is all this stuff going to cost? As your council member, what I would do is look at it to make sure that we live within our means. We have just recently on the news, there's a company in Grand Junction that's going out of business, and they're losing 300-400 people. They estimate millions of dollars of lost revenues. We only have 400 people losing their jobs here in Montrose. Now, what's that going to do to our revenues? We have the water that the candy factory buys. What's that going to do once the sale of water goes down? Does that mean that our rates are going to go up so we can continue to pay for the services? After all, the money that went to the new development came from the water department. So there's a lot of money that's invested over there that come from other areas in the city. I believe that we need to live within our means, and if we have to entice anybody to move to Montrose, maybe they shouldn't move to Montrose. I believe that Rose should pay their way, and we shouldn't give our money away. I don't know about you, but I don't have that kind of money to give away. I'm still working and collecting Social Security. But Social Security doesn't make all my payments. Anyway, my name is Ed Ulibarri. I'm running for district at large, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Okay, we finished actually a few minutes early, which is good. Thanks, Ed. And we again want to thank you all for being here. Next week, we are going to have an update on the coronavirus and our community's response to that. So we hope to have, we're kind of putting this together right now. Representatives from the hospital, from the city, from the school district. I know I was at a meeting earlier this week and CMU locally was discussing what they would do if in fact they had to close the campus. It's on everyone's mind. We thought this is an opportune time to address that issue, keep people informed. So that will be the topic next week. Our speakers will all stay after. So if you have questions, comments, feel free to address that. And again, we thank you all for coming.